Yeah, I think. Let's see, how should I phrase this? Based on my initial impressions and testing, for sure, the default configuration is excellent, just as it is. Um, Maybe you could make a case for just. Well, let me rephrase that. The default configuration for the Hyena is perfectly serviceable. I think it is very well balanced for what its intended role appears to be based on my gameplay testing today, looking at breakpoints against, those medium, like elite tier enemies and stuff like that. If you are engaging at long range, 50 meters or more, the ergonomics are perfectly fine. The scope is perfectly good. It's what you would like to have because you only need to be able to aim center mass anyway. So you might actually, with that in mind, you might even be able to get away with doing one of the 2x or the 4x. Heck, if you're practiced enough, you could do one of the lower, like non-zoom scopes if you really want to. But at those really long ranges, that would be pretty hard to start seeing stuff. But I think you could for sure get away with the 4x combat scope, maybe even the 2x, because unless you're trying to do some like super long range sniping in excess of 200 meters, I think the 2x would serve the purpose just fine. You could squeeze out 3 points of ergonomics if you want. Muzzle attachment. Especially if you're leaning into the long range gameplay, again, 50 meters or more, you could get away without having a muzzle attachment to squeeze out a few more points of ergonomics. And then the short magazine, I think, would also be perfectly fine to use in order to squeeze out more ergonomics. Specifically, if you want it to be just a little bit more snappy, you can get this thing up, probably to just over 40 ergonomics, which would be nice. But honestly, you don't really need it if you're playing your range appropriately. And even in situations where you saw me there, that was a D10 bots mission. And whenever I was getting pressured by berserkers, it was fairly easy. Maybe I won't say easy. It was fairly simple to manage the close range spacing, shoot a few times, and then run, reposition, reload, maybe pull out the sidearm, shoot down 1 or 2 of them, and then re-engage with the rifle. So to me, and I'm a controller player, so my aiming and stuff is not as fast, nor is it as precise as mouse and keyboard. So if you're on mouse and keyboard, then it'll be even easier for you to be able to like whip around and ensure you're on target better, I think. Hey there, Dark Blaze. Just giving a quick summary review of the gameplay that I've done today with the the R-4 Hyena. So as a marksman rifle, since you just joined, this is going to be the last thing I cover for the moment. Yeah, so the R-4 Hyena is a marksman rifle. It has incendiary trait and medium armor penetration. It's similar to the Diligence counter sniper, but it is very much built for you to aim center mass and punch straight through the chest armor of enemies with its fire damage application. Across all ranges from my testing today on all 3 factions, you're looking at anywhere between 2 and 4 shots, with most enemies being able to kill them in between 2 and 4 shots, with the majority of those sort of elite enemies taking like 3 shots and then they die to the fire damage within a second or 2. Chaff enemies die immediately or to the fire damage within a second. Although I would not use this primarily on chaff enemies unless you can line up a few of them so that you blast through multiple at once. You really want to lean into 50 meters or farther with this gun so that you can take advantage of the fire dot. It's very effective in that regard. You can aim center mass. You don't have to worry about being super precise for headshots, which is for me as a controller player, that feels really, really good. And when things are getting crazy and hectic and you're in the middle of a firefight, and if stuff's starting to shoot at you from a distance, that feels really, really good. Um, that's a very valuable benefit that this gun offers. And Devastators, Berserkers all seem to die in about 3 shots, give or take a little bit of extra time for fire damage, depending on where you shot them exactly. Hive Guards, Warriors, Alpha Commanders, Stalkers, all those types of enemies, they all die within about 3 shots. And then if they're not immediately dead, they'll die to the burn damage most of the time. Overseers, you can shoot them twice in the head. Otherwise, 4 shots on average to the body to kill an overseer. The ground overseers. Elevated overseers die even faster. And then, let's see, what else did we mess around with? The 10x scope, I mean, just getting used to 10x scope, you can make some super long range shots, which is pretty cool. Just take some practice. And then even in closer ranges, like inside 25 meters, and in some cases as close as like 10 or 15 meters, whenever I was getting pushed hard by like Devastators, this thing is still very strong if you are good at managing your positioning and moving and not just digging your heels in and trying to spam fire them down. If you don't keep in mind that you need to move and shoot, then you might think this thing sucks. But it doesn't suck in close range. It's just not very good. That's not what it's built for. But if you combine it with good positioning, it's still pretty strong for picking off a couple of close range pursuers. Otherwise, you should definitely swap to like a sidearm and burst some things down. Like if you have one of the chainsaw, dang things, berserkers pushing you. And but as far as like saving teammates and supporting teammates from long range, man, this thing is awesome. It feels really strong. You can pick off patrols. You can lead with like 110 rocket pods or the quasar cannon to destroy like the War Strider or the Hulk unit that's commonly rolling alongside of a patrol unit to kill those first, and then you start picking off everything else with your rifle, which worked really effectively for me. And just overall, this gun, it feels pretty good, man. Like, it really does. The only time the ergonomics was a problem is if things were getting inside that 25 meters in short range, because then, you know, it's sluggish, it's harder to track, but you just have to try harder, basically. But that's outside its main intended role for sure. So if you want, you can level it up and you can put on some different optics, put on some different attachments and things like that to increase the ergonomics, which, you know, would make it feel a bit snappier, especially if you want to try and make it operate a little bit closer range. The short magazine, I think, would be your best option. That and maybe the flash hider, specifically because if you're in first-person view, then, you know, if you're sensitive to light flashes and stuff, the flash hider is going to help to reduce that, and it gives you a little bit more ergonomics. You could certainly afford to change to the 4x combat scope instead of the 10x for most engagements, I think. That'll get you a small amount of ergonomics. So, you know, if you make those trade-offs, you can get it up to be 30 or 40 ergonomics, which will make it feel a little bit snappier. But overall, man, playing this thing as a long-range marksman rifle, this thing is a beast. It feels really good to use to me. And even against things like flesh mobs, you can either like carefully pace your shots over like 20 seconds to get full use of burn damage. Otherwise, just mag dump it and make sure you're trying to hit headshots, and one mag should kill it when you include the burn damage. So this is a strong gun, dude. It feels really good as a marksman rifle, especially if you either don't like being super duper precise with headshots, or you just you're just not that good at it for whatever reason. Like, this is a strong contender. It does not outright outperform these other ones because they have different damage and ammo profiles. But as a center mass, like burn them down type weapon, like this is super fun to use. It feels very effective. So I have nothing but good things to say about it based on my initial impressions, gameplay testing, and things like that. So that's going to wrap it up for today. R-4 Hyena, if you were part of the campaign order that got this, give it a try. Remember, it's a long-range weapon, and if you lean into that, you're going to have a good time. So, thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'm going to call it there, and yeah, it's a good gun, good time. See you next time. Bye-bye.